What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a match from one of the most recent RMC locals. This is going to be between LordKnightmon on the left, and on the right we're going to be having Gabumon. Now, the ban list isn't going to be hitting until the 25th, which means that we still got the Ice Walls going in this deck, so we'll still see Gabumon for around for a little bit, but soon when we do hit the 25th, we'll see how the metagame shifts and see if people are still going to be playing the Bond of Friendship. Now, I'm going to go start with the EX1 Gabu and go into the Davis. I do see the TK and the LordKnightmon player's hand, so they could potentially play that out, but they are just going to decide to go with the Red Rise, so that way they can Digiburst next turn, get the TK out, and since it is the Red Rise, it will be getting the on play of the TK. It's the Yellow Rise Greymon that does not get the on play, so they will be able to Digiburst, get the TK out, get their Memory Tamer, as well as being able to search out of the security, but they're going to go ahead and play out a couple draw Gabumon here, just getting some cycle going, putting the opponent at 2, but now they are going to be able to Digiburst down, be able to play TK, see what they want to pull out. I see an option card in there. I can't tell if that's Blinding Ray. I do believe that's Blinding Ray, so they're actually going to go ahead and take out the Unimon instead of the Blinding Ray. Blinding Ray a lot of the times is a card that you do take out of the security because it has no effect in the security, as well as you can just use that later. Obviously in this matchup you probably don't want to be sacking your security as much just because Gabumon does get relatively aggressive, so you don't really want to be getting rid of that too much, but you can use the Blinding Ray after you lose all your security, so that way you could go in. We saw a little bit of a blunder right there just because they did play the Starmons to put the opponent at 1, but they didn't go for the Patamon right away, so the Bond player started to go in, but they do gain the memory to go down to 0 with the Patamon, so that way they can play out the Unimon and then put the opponent to 3, but they did just put the card that they drew back on top of the deck, so everything is as is. They just had to discuss out what was going on there, but you have BT6 Gabu in the back, but no Matt so far, so not really going to be able to go for crazy Bond plays, considering playing the Cocytus right there, which is very interesting. Put your opponent at a pretty hefty amount of memory, bouncing back the Rise, and they'd be able to play it out again and then just Digiburst again, but going to go ahead and just go with the Drawbu into the Madoki Betamon, so that way they can just go ahead and cycle through. Starmon's going to come out once again to be able to pop, and then should be able to gain a memory there with the Patamon. Gonna see the Rise Greymon go ahead and swing in. Unfortunately hits the Octomon, so there are not a lot of Digimon in the Bond deck that are gonna be able to take down the Rise Greymon in security, but the Octomon's gonna do it, but gonna just end it off with the Spiral, gonna be able to clear off the board there, go 3/3 minus both. Now they're gonna see if they want to promote here. If they do promote, they do give it the option to just get deleted next turn by their opponent, but if they leave it in raising, then they will be kind of behind because they won't be able to hatch and Digivolve and draw next turn, and we actually just see them go into the Lobomon and then draw the mat and play the mat, so that is unfortunate right there. If you did just go ahead and play it out, you could have potentially had a little bit better of a play drawing the mat next turn, because now even with the mat out, you're not going to be able to gain the memory, you're not going to be able to go into Bond, and you used one of your Lobomons to go on top of the Gabumon, so you can swing in here if you want and draw with the Upa. It will get blocked pretty much right away by the Unimon, so the Bond of Friendship player is looking really rough. Doesn't even matter that they hit the Ice Wall and security, that didn't matter too much, so now they're going to be able to swing over and then bounce back the Patamon, still have the Unimon and the Bushi on the board. I am slightly interested that they didn't decide to block there, just because the Kendo can be fairly good considering the hand that we see from the opponent, but they might just be going for a double Starmon's turn next turn, which would be pretty impactful, and you'd be able to clear out a decent amount of Digimon. Unfortunately, the Red Rise did go down without seeing a Mega. If they got the Mega and was able to start getting the Red Rise inheritable to start swinging in, that would have helped a lot, but it's going to swing into the Ice Wall. I do believe that's kind of unfortunate for them because they could have potentially made some other plays. I was wondering if they were going to consider putting the War Growlmon out or not. They decided to put it up in raising, so that way next turn they're going to be able to go in, Digiburst to pop most likely the Gabumon, and then they will also be able to swing over one of the suspended Digimon, except for this Octomon being here now. That is going to be a little bit unfortunate. I am a little bit surprised at the fact that they decided to not play any Starmons last turn. I figured that popping the Gabumon there could have been relatively good, but the Octomon's going to swing in and hit the Knightmon, so 7k to 7k. That's a pretty good hit for the LordKnightmon player. Getting that Octomon off the board right away is going to be super helpful, because now you could potentially Digiburst with the Black War Growlmon, or the regular War Growlmon, be able to put the Lobomon down to 1, swing into the Kendo, and get the Koromon effect to be able to pop both of them, but they decided to just go with the Kendo, not going with that play. They want to play out the Sakuyamon without it being suspended, I suppose. I don't really think there was any danger to having it suspended, because they can't go into Bond of Friendship. Even if they pop the Howling Memory Boost, they still need a Hammer Spark to be able to play Matt and Bond, and then doing so would make it so they would have to trash their top 2 security, and they would have none left, and they know you have a Bushi in hand, so I think you could have just went for the play, cleared the Lobomon off the board as well, but you're still looking pretty good anyway. Without the Bond player having Matt, there's not a whole lot they can do. Another Davis is great. You can probably grab the Lobomon here for later, or you can grab the Gabumon if you don't have a rookie, but without the Matt, you're not really getting the resources that you need, be able to get that memory and those cards and be able to go into Bond. So we're going to swing in not another Hammer Spark or Ice Wall, because that was something that was happening quite a bit so far in the game. So they're going to be able to set up a second Unimon. There's 2 Davis on the board, but now the Lobomon is stuck. Pretty much all the hybrids are not going to be able to get anything going off here, because if they go in with the Kendo, I would imagine you block that because you have 2 Unimon now, so you still have a lot of defense. And then next turn, you're going to be able to promote the Bushi, and you swing with the Bushi, and if there's still a Unimon on the board, you can swing in for game. So even an Ice Wall here, I don't think is really going to be able to save them. They're going to swing with the Lobomon so they can draw with the Upa, and then they get blocked right there. And I think that's fair enough. You do kind of have to cycle to see what happens, but again, without any Matt, there's not really much that's going to be going on here. You can Digivolve into the Ikaku, which would trade with the Unimons, but doesn't matter. Going to go in with the Bushi, swing, Unimon still on the board. Ice Wall wasn't going to save you there, and that's game over. So, going to go into game 2. We're going to be having LordKnightmon go first, of course, and they're going to start off with the TK, putting the opponent at 4. So, the Bond player is going to be able to develop a lot. If they have Davis here, it's very beneficial for them. As somebody who's played a lot of Bond of Friendship, whenever your opponent puts you to 4, a lot of times you just play Davis out, so you can get that free Davis out without having to pass turn, and then they're going to go to 3 anyway, so you can play a 3-drop rookie, or you can play Matt, something like that. So we'll see if they decide to go for that plan, or if they just want to develop on board. With the 4 memory developing on board, it's not going to be as pretty of memory use, because right here you don't really have anything that you're going to be able to go down to 0 with besides Ice Wall. But they do have the Davis anyway, so you could have developed either way, been able to play out the Strabi and the Davis. This way it works out with the same memory, but we did see an Ice Wall and a Matt just get put to the bottom with that Davis, so that is fairly rough. That's going to put you a bit behind. We're going to go ahead and swing in with the 8mon and hit Hammer Spark. So the LordKnightmon player has not been having good luck with the opponent's security. They hit 2 Ice Walls game 1. First check now is a Hammer Spark, so a lot of crazy checks going in. Going to swing, hit with the Upamon, but they do actually hit the yellow memory boost, which is going to give the LordKnightmon player a lot of juice, because like I said, they have the Bushis in the deck. If they're able to bump up to 5, they could just go for a raw Bushi if they get to that point. But with the Howling Memory Boost out now, the 8mon's not going to be able to attack, so it is kind of shut down for the turn. You do want to be able to play out these Starmons here, so you can at least pop something and try to get some development. I would assume you'd probably want to try to build up in the back, or you would be able to go up into an ultimate. So they decided to go with the ultimate on the board instead of building in the back, because they just want to fill out the memory, I'm assuming. If they don't have Unimon, then I think only champions that they have are going to be able to Digivolve for 1. So this does give you a better use of your memory, since your opponent's going to go to 3 anyway. The only downside is you don't have enough sources to be able to actually Digiburst and get the -4, and now you're only down to 1 security check. Your opponent does have a Gabumon in the back, a Gabumon on the board, and the Davis, which can become a Lobomon, so you're looking a little rough this turn. Even if you kill off everything that they play this turn, let's say they play another rookie right here to put you at 3, even if you get rid of it all, unless you're able to set up some sort of defenses like blockers, they're just going to be able to go in, swing with the Gabumon, and then go into a Lobomon or a Kendo on top of the Davis and go for game. So see what they want to do here. Gonna go ahead with the Spark, which is very interesting. Gonna play out another Davis. Wants to put their opponent at 3 instead of 4, so gonna expend the Spark there, which I think is fair. A lot of decks you don't really want to put them to 4, especially in a deck like LordKnightmon, where they play 1 to Digivolve champions in the Pitomon, which makes it so that they would be able to Digivolve on top of that, while also being able to do a 3 Digivolve and hitting another Hammer Spark. That is insane. Another Hammer Spark coming out, so, or Ice Wall, gonna be able to make it so that basically every time they swing into security, they're losing memory. The Sakuyamon is actually going to be pretty helpful here, because they're not going to be able to get a check. They can swing with the Upamon, but they need double Lobomon to be able to go in for game, and they're going pretty fast and pretty confident with it, so I gotta assume that they have it, and they are going to be able to take it out right there. So they were starting to get a little aggressive right there. I think that if you had the Sakuyamon, that's great, but you also kind of needed to be able to set up a blocker there as well. The Sukuyamon slowing down the Gabumon helped, but with the double hybrid, so I think either way, I don't know if you're going to be able to get the Sukuyamon out while also being able to get the blocker out. That was potentially just too many cards. But if they were able to get it out, they probably would have been pretty safe. They were having a pretty standard good board going out, but ooh, this is rough. So they do go second, get the extra draw, but still no rookie, so just going to play out the 8-mon. The Kakumon is going to go down, so it's not that big of a deal because there's something off the board, but man, you gave your opponent a lot of memory. They wanted to play the Rattlestar there, but they don't have a color source on the board anymore now that the Kakumon's gone. They can play down a rookie or a tamer and then play the Rattlestar if they want, but then you're going to give your opponent a lot of memory, and they'll probably just be able to play the 8-mon back down if they don't hit a rookie. So let's see what they want to do. Actually, just go ahead and go with the Howling. Going to be able to go ahead and play Analog here. See if they hit a rookie. Still no rookie. That is crazy, but you can grab the LordKnightmon. Hopefully they have an ultimate here. They see we have the WarGrowlmon, but if they didn't have an ultimate here and miss the rookie, they would be very far behind. So at least here, you're going to be able to get a ultimate out and potentially go into your Mega next turn. They can Rattlestar you because we saw that they tried to play it and revealed it. So if they want to Rattlestar you, put you at 4. There's nothing really you can do about that, and without the rookie, you're starting to fall really far behind, so actually looking real good for the Gabumon player. They do survive the check, hitting the Gladymon. Now the Rattlestar is going to come out. Knew it was there. Not going to be able to do anything about it, but luckily at least hit the Pulsemon. That does mean you could start to build up. You can go into the Piddlemon, and now you can Digivolve for 3, and this is why I said putting them to 4 isn't as great, because they can Digivolve for 1 into a champion, and then Digivolve for 3 into the ultimate, leaving them at 0, and then they can go into the Mega. So now they have a LordKnightmon in the back. They are starting to get a little bit behind just as far as aggression, because the Gabumon player is just kind of swinging in. The Kendo does go down, the Lobo does go down, but now you're only at 1 security check. They don't have anything in the back, and they don't have any tamers, so it's not too bad. As like, as much as you have no security, they don't really have too much to pressure you right now. So, and whatever comes out on board will likely get popped, because we see the Knightmon, we see the Spiral Masquerade in the back. So we're gonna swing, pop the Knightmon. Let's see if they hit another Ice Wall. Nope, no Ice Wall or Hammer Spark this time, so getting a little bit of grace there. Now gonna be able to play out the Sukuyamon, so LordKnightmon on the board, Sukuyamon on the board. Gabumon's not gonna be able to go for checks next turn, and there's no Tamer on the board right now, so unless a Tamer's coming out, they really won't have any offensive pressure next turn. The Strabimon's gonna come out, gonna whiff, unfortunately. I think that was the Forbidden Trident, so that is interesting. Ooh, actually had the Davis in hand, but instead of just putting them to 1 and playing the Davis, actually going to play the Strabimon out and put them to 4. So that's going to make it so that way they have a bit more aggression, so that way they could potentially get an extra check. And oh no, that's not good. The LordKnightmon should definitely not be going down there. The Sukuyamon does lower the DP of the Bond of Friendship, so that is something that I have seen a lot of players who play Sukuyamon forget about, that it does have a second effect. It isn't just to make it so your opponent has negative security checks. It does have minus DP, so that LordKnightmon should definitely be alive, and that could be a pretty big blunder from the LordKnightmon player there. I'm surprised that the Gabumon player also didn't catch it, considering that the Gabumon player actually plays a lot of Shine Greymon and LordKnightmon themselves and plays the Sakuya, so they let them both go through. As of right now, you still could potentially be okay. It really depends if you're able to clear things off on the board and then be able to potentially go in next turn. So, ooh, they're going to hit the Hammer Spark. That's very scary. If they was able to pass turn there, that could have been very detrimental. But considering that there was 3 checks and there should have been 4 Digimon with the LordKnightmon, if that LordKnightmon was still on board, they could have potentially just went in for game, especially if they could have played a Bushi Agumon for off of its effect. But we're going to see the misplay could potentially cost them here, because they're going to go for Ice Wall, and that might do it. They'd have to swing for 3 checks. They can't gain memory anymore because the Madoki, so they swing the first check. They're gonna go down to 1. They swing the second check. They pass turn. They can't gain any memory. And yeah, they're gonna be able to take it. I don't think there's any way for the LordKnightmon player to be able to win here, because the Ice Wall is going to make it so that they pass their 2 turns, and then they're just going to be able to promote next turn and swing in with the Madoki, hit the Ice Wall and security, so it didn't even matter. Actually, even if they were able to play the Blinding Ray right there, I don't think they were able to get game because of that Ice Wall hit, but unfortunately, there was quite a big of a blunder there with that LordKnightmon. I do think they could have potentially took it that previous turn. Now that we know the security, that might have been a little bit different, but take this as a lesson. If you are playing Sakuyamon, which is a very popular card in the format, it does have 2 effects, not just 1. Make sure you're using both. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this set. If you are interested in getting some post-ban list content, be sure to like and subscribe, because as soon as we get the ban list out, I'm going to go ahead and play in a bunch of stuff with some people so we can get footage of that, as well as BT7 coming soon. And once BT7 comes out, I'm going to be grinding a lot, so you'll be able to see a lot of different decks and matches of BT7. So I hope you have a great day. I'll catch you all next time. Peace out.